Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Wolverine and Kitty Pryde, issue number 1, which came out at the end of April 2025. And this is Chris Claremont's newest comic. So he's revisiting the 1984-1985 Kitty Pryde and Wolverine miniseries. That was a 6-issue miniseries illustrated by Al Milgrom. And he's returning to that continuity and time period and giving us a sequel while Logan and Kitty are still in Japan. So the cover is by Alan Davis. Unfortunately, Alan Davis is not the interior artist. That would have been absolutely excellent. But Davis and Claremont, longtime collaborators going back decades. This is a nice cover featuring Wolverine in his brown and yellow costume designed by, of course, John Byrne, and the costume or uniform that he was wearing back at that particular time. Good foreshortening on Wolverine's forearm there, left forearm coming towards us with the blades extruded from the back of his hands. And Kitty Pryde there too. She had a haircut, kind of like a boyish haircut in the miniseries after the trip to Japan. And so we're seeing that here in this particular illustration as well. But there's a new costume design that she's wearing that we'll see her wearing also on the inside of the issue. So let's open this one up to the first page. So Marvel in the current era are offering these kinds of title pages where you'll get something like an editor's note, which we have here. This series takes place between the events of Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, number 6. Which was cover dated 1985, but in any case, an Uncanny X-Men 192. So that's the particular point of continuity that this story sequel is inserted into. And we have a little blurb here. When Kitty Pryde, aka Shadowcat, followed her father Carmen to Japan, she got more than she bargained for. The psychic assassin Ogun, a former teacher of Logan, aka Wolverine, captured her, training her and exerting his psychic influence on Kitty to transform her into his private assassin. Wolverine killed the evil Ogun, freeing Kitty. But what is next for a ninja-trained mutant teenager? So you can see here in the background images from the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine miniseries. But this, as I said now, is the sequel. So writer Chris Claremont, artist Damian Couceiro, that's my pronunciation anyway of the artist's surname. Strikes me as that could be a Portuguese surname or Brazilian. Color artist Carlos Lopez, and letterer VC's Ariana Mar. So that is the creative team. Let's get into this. So we pick up here with a splash page. We've got Logan's trademark first-person narration. The setting is Tokyo, Japan. That's Kitty Pryde's father, Carmen Pryde. And in Logan's first-person narration, he says, "I'm the Wolverine, she's Shadowcat, name's Logan, hers is Kitty Pryde. I'm considered an old man, she's barely a teenager. We're both X-Men. Technically that makes us superheroes, but that's only part of it. We're also hunters, we're also warriors. Except she got lucky. I'm the only killer here. I aim to keep things that way." And of course, that's a reference to the fact that he killed Ogun, which solved that problem. But you can see here, showing, not telling, that Kitty Pryde has a phasing power. That's her mutant power. And so she's kind of phasing into the floor of the Dojo gym. And Wolverine there says, "Remember the rules, kiddo. No using your powers." So she retorts petulantly, "Give me a break, will you? Sometimes I can't help myself." Logan says, "Blah, blah, blah." And then in Japanese, "You think a villain's going to cut you any slack, baby girl?" Translated from the Japanese. It's not Logan speaking. It is her antagonist, and we'll see who that is on the next page. But here you can see the manga influence on Couceiro's art style. It's quite a cartoony art style, but with those speed lines and motion lines That's definitely coming from manga comics. And what does Kitty Pryde retort to her? Still in shadows and still off panel antagonist. How many times do I have to tell you about stop speaking Japanese? What you call skills, to me they're a curse. I don't want them anymore. I never wanted them. So these are the skills that she learned from Ogun. And she's using them here with this flying kick. Let's turn the page and we'll see who she's up against. It is Yukio. What's the matter, Kitty Cat? She says, still speaking in Japanese. You sound so scared. And Kitty retorts, with good reason, Yukio. Ogun made me his slave. Forgive me if I don't want to communicate like he did to me. Because of him, I almost killed Logan. So again, a reference back to the miniseries, but you didn't says, Yukio, you have powers, girl. You can do things most folks can't even imagine, things you should embrace. But Kitty's defiant. She says she doesn't care. She's tumbling over in the gym, getting the better of Yukio. Yukio comes up behind her. And then we get a classic Linus Oliver trope here, which I think the colorist is imitating, where we've got the red background as there's an implication of impending maybe final violence. But Logan, remember, is watching all of this. Maybe he'll step in if things get too heated. So here's Kitty running at Yukio. She says, stop talking to me like that. You haven't the right. And then Logan gets in the way of the swinging stick. What about me? He says, we're done for today, Pryde. You want to hang with Amiko at school? It's time to share and get dressed and then join her and Mariko for breakfast. So Kitty petulantly cries out, you're not my father. You can't make me do anything, old man. So the final insult there at the end. And Logan comes back to her. We get an interesting kind of shot of the outside of the gym and the building that they're in, and kind of a look around Tokyo there, as well as Mount Fuji there in the background. So that's pretty good work by the artist. Logan says to her, we cut a deal. You agreed to the rules. Long as we stay as Mariko's guests, you abide by them. You want to be Amiko's friend? You want to be a normal school kid again? Your call. But that's only half your life. Like it or not, girl, thanks to Ogun, you now have the skills of a warrior. They represent the other half of your life, and it's my responsibility to help you learn how to use them. So she sticks her tongue out at him and says, in your dreams, storms off here using her power. Nice attitude, says Yukio. Up yours, thief, replies Kitty. Our fight's not finished. Whatever, kid. There's her father. Why are you behaving like this? He asks her, and she just phases right through him. Stand in my way, Daddy. I walk right through you. So this is Kitty Pryde as a teenager, and she's got an attitude, obviously, and there are two father figures there for her as well, and Yukio kind of acting in the kind of position of maybe an older sister type, I would say. But Kitty just really not wanting to listen to any of the adults in the room and storming off. So what do they have to say regarding things? Well, Yukio says she thought she'd purged all the skills Ogun taught her. We all did, says Logan. We were wrong. The more you teach her, the better she gets, says Carmen. And Logan replies, we can't banish those skills, Carmen. So instead, we make her the best. Just without Ogun's conditioning controlling her, letting her use those skills for herself, not him. And Carmen protests, so there's disagreement among the adults here. That's not what she wants. Nope, says Logan. You don't care. Nope. She'll hate you for that, so will I. Tough. So this is Logan, practical, hard-nosed, not for bending. He says the skills she possesses separate her from the rest of the X-Men. They push her up towards my level. That's worth the price. Again, we have the red background here as Yukio starts to attack Logan. She's Carmen's daughter, Logan. She's a kid. He counters. We were all of us kids, Yukio, once upon a time. But the more we get her to walk the right path, whether she wants to or not, the more people we can help her save. The more villains defeat. As far as I'm concerned, that's a fair exchange. So he knocks her onto the ground and he pins her to the floor of the gym with his claws either side of her neck. And we've seen that many times but he looks to be enjoying himself there in the art as well. And notice also, once again, in the background, we've got the red color coming in with the implication of an impending moment of violence, just as Glynis Oliver used to do. So that's a nice tribute there from the modern colorist to Glynis Oliver, I would say. I wonder is it there in Claremont scripts that he wants that. But in any case, yeah, so that's a fairly fluid opening to the issue. And then we're going to get a scene switch. And here we go. So Logan's first person narration continues. This is not Kitty Pryde and Logan, as was the 1984-85 series titled, but rather, remember, Wolverine and Kitty Pryde. So in many ways, that is taking advantage, of course, of Wolverine's popularity, headlining the comic with his name, but also we're seeing Wolverine more in a mentor type role here, and Kitty once again as a teenager who needs to learn things. And so as a teenager needing to learn things, she goes to school. And this all has a very Harry Potter type vibe to things here, with all these children in kind of English inspired school uniforms. I know that is the way that things are in Japan and Korea, for instance. But it just kind of, there's something about the imagery here. It just reminds me of the Harry Potter mythos. But we have Logan's first person narration over these images of the kids enjoying the snow. And what does he say? He says, Pryde is still a kid, taking advanced courses, sure, but that's not what matters. The Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters has barely a half dozen students anywhere near her age. Rest of the X team, we're way older. No surprise, she feels lonely. The encounter with Ogun only made things worse. He remade her soul in his image. Sure, she got it back, and I killed him, but she's still scared. She's tired of saving worlds. So, I mean, classic Claremont theme, the corruption of the soul, mind and body of a character, most especially female characters. That is a light motif of his works, especially in the X books. But then back to Logan's narration here, there's a complication in the plot. Something's happening in the real world, not just in the dojo gym. Trouble is, folks, like us, we don't always get what we want, he continues. I recognize the attacker. So he's watching things from the shadows. We don't see him. But he says, I recognize the attacker. Killer for hire. Name defines him. Kill. So, not the most inventive of code names, but in any case, loves his job, loves scaring people even more. Can't tell who he's after, only that it's one of these kids. Hopefully not a Miko. Of course, the reader would conjecture it's got to be a Miko, yes? While Kill provides cover for his teammates, Snare grabs their living target and passes him over to Getaway. Oh no, so it's a boy actually, who secures the boy in his portable lockup where, surprise, Pryde's waiting. She and I may not get along right now, but we both know how to do our job. Nobody suffers on our watch. So we get to see Kitty using her mutant powers here again, holding the boy there as she phases out the back of the truck. There she's on the street, and Logan's narration continues. Creeps don't like what's just happened, like even less that baby teenagers are making fun of them. They respond in kind. So does Pryde. So the guy just phases right through her. So do I. So this is pretty cool. That's a nice image there of Logan in his brown and tan costume, leaping off one of those snowy rooftops there. Like the background details. It's all really well done. And now we get a scrap. I was counting on my body slamming Kill from above to take him down before he knew what hit him. Turns out the surprise is all mine. But it's not like I haven't been hit hard before. The Wolverine finds fights like these fun. Okay. So does Kill. Sounds like the school kids agree, so they're enjoying the fight here. The prospective fight. For them, seeing a super fight live right on their doorstep is way more fun than watching it on TV. So, the entertainment value of street violence, eh? Logan here charging at Kill. That's nicely done. That's the body language there is right for Logan here and here. I'm not the only one having problems. So there's a challenge for Kitty Pryde as well from Snare. Before Pryde can do anything to break herself free, Emiko gets into the fight too. Jumps up on Snare's back and starts pulling his hair. So Kitty says, Miko, you are the boss. Not to mention totally nuts. Grab my hand, she says in Japanese, and I can make you intangible before your courage gets you. But she's slapped by Snare. Pryde reacts instinctively, says Wolverine. For all she says she hates this hero life, she lives it better than almost everyone I know. So they phase into safety through the ground. And Logan says he's had enough of this foolishness. So he says, no need for my claws. Punches alone will do the job. Okay, Pryde makes her point. Punches plus athletics. So these are fairly pacey pages here. Kind of traditional layout on this page with the 4-panel grid and then the wide double panel here to conclude the page. It's nicely done. And then here we see an interesting kind of montage with almost the DeLuca effect going on as well, as we see Wolverine leaping here, Kitty Pryde dancing around, kills. So they're swapping antagonists and taking down all three of them together. So Logan says, Pryde reacts like she's reading my mind. Can't tell if it's to prevent me from doing something the X-Crew finds abhorrent. He means killing those guys. Something heroes just don't do. And this is a reminder that, Comics Code is gone and Chris Claremont is free to use a wider vocabulary, or simply to piss me off. You never would have got that phrase in the 1980s Kitty Pryde and Wolverine miniseries. Whatever, both moves do the trick. So they've taken out the trio. They're down for the count, none of them dead. So now it's time to head back to the domestic space. Mariko Yoshida's boss of Clan Yoshida. For longer than most history books tell, her family's been one of the most powerful crime leagues in Japan. The things you don't know growing up till you fall for the wrong man and he shows you the truth. I love her, she loves me, so much so we almost married one another. Didn't work out, he says. That's rather laconic. These days, to make Miko less of a target, we both play things cooler. Amiko's an orphan girl whose life we saved after an earthquake caused by a dragon. So a call back all the way to Uncanny X-Men 181. You'll find a review of that issue in my back catalogue of review videos. Quake wiped out her family, so Miko and I embraced her into our own. Worked out ever since. Will wonders never cease, as he looks out on the nighttime cityscape. So they're watching the news there. There's a news item about the attempted abduction, and all the school kids there you can see are acclaiming Kitty and Logan as heroes. And what does Kitty say here? She says, as far as they're concerned, they were hitting a ghost. Our real hero this afternoon was Emiko, because she doesn't have any powers, but she got into the scrap in order to help Kitty. So there's a present here from Mariko, but doing so, you put yourself at risk. Logan and I figured if you're going to make it a habit, you'd better start wearing armor. So there's a gift for Emiko and for Kitty, as it turns out. So here's the armor. And Logan says this is for your protection. And then Kitty Pryde's father has a present for her. And he says to her, I'm so proud of what you do, of the young woman you're becoming. I want you to look the part. And so here's her new costume that we saw on the cover in the Alan Davis art of the cover. So here we go. They've both got costumes. We're going to see them in use in the course of this particular miniseries, of course. And now there's a more serious conversation between Logan and Carmen at the bar. Never seen either girl look so happy, says Logan. And Carmen says, feel proud, my friend. It's mostly due to you. You know, when Kitty was born, I tried to invite Charlie to the celebration. Charles Xavier and I spent years during the war saving lives, and I never got a reply. Like he dropped off the face of the world. And Logan says, happens sometimes, whether we want it or not. And he's thinking back to like the Weapon X program there. One of the lives Charlie saved was mine, says Carmen. We were a medevac team. I was his pilot. 2 crazy captains. I think in a weird sort of way, it was the best time of both of our lives until he used his powers to make me forget everything. He told me not long ago that he meant to restore those memories later when it was safe, but he didn't until after he drafted my daughter, the mutant. So this is interesting because in the original continuity, Charles Xavier was a medical, like a, what would you call them, like a battlefield doctor in Korea, in the Korean War. But of course, this has got to be updated to some other war, but Claremont cleverly not leaving it specified. So we can think it's the Korean War if we want, or we can update it to some other more recent conflict. But this is intriguing because, you know, Kitty Pryde's first appearance in the X-Men comics was Uncanny X-Men 129. And at the time, there was no hint that there was any backstory between Professor X and Carmen Pryde. So what I don't know is this. I actually haven't read the original 1980s Kitty Pryde and Wolverine miniseries, so I don't know if this is information that was contained there or if this is a new retro continuity revelation, a new retcon of Claremont's to make this connection between Carmen Pryde and Professor X. So he's annoyed about this and annoyed about the fact that Professor X didn't restore his memories so that Kitty would be allowed to become a student at his school. And Logan retorts, Charlie made a choice for what he thought were the right reasons. In that, he hasn't changed. Truth is, my friend, don't matter who we are, whether it's you or me, Chuck or your daughter, fate plays with us all. Like it or not, all we can do in return is to try our best to win. So that's kind of like boiling down one of Wolverine's life philosophies there. It's typically laconic, typically terse in expression, very practical, pragmatic, stoical, very much the way that Claremont has always written Wolverine. And then we get a complication in the plot later. So Kitty's in bed wearing her costume. She hears that sound effect, the classic sound effect of Logan popping his claws. That sound, she says, those are his claws, something's happening. And then she's phasing through the walls of the apartment building, and she thinks to herself, no time for fooling around or courtesy. If he's popped his claws, he likely needs help. I've got to get up to the master bedroom suite fast as I can. If I'm interrupting, I'll laugh later. So this is intriguing too, because, you know, the whole after the whole business of the wedding being called off. Now that was all on account of Mastermind taking control of Mariko, but subsequently she maintained that she couldn't marry Wolverine until she'd restored the honor of the Yoshida clan and gotten them out of criminal entanglements. But the implication here is that Logan and Mariko are living together and sleeping together as well in the master bedroom. That's what I take away from that. And so she thinks to herself, if I'm interrupting, I'll laugh later. But then when she arrives up to that level of the apartment building, where did all this snow come from? Must be a broken window or the ceiling itself. And it is winter and the snow has been established in Tokyo for this story, but not this much. This is so nuts, says Kitty aloud. Miko, it's Pryde, Logan, and then she trips and slips on the ice and snow. Turn the page, get past all of this, and we've got a really cool double page spread to conclude the issue. Okay, people, that wasn't funny, she says. What the? I'm dressed like a samurai. I'm speaking Japanese. And not just that, I'm thinking in Japanese as well, like it's my native language. And so everybody's in historical costume. We all are, Catherine says, Mariko. And we're none of us standing in Mariko's bedroom or her Tokyo penthouse. And Kitty replies, no offense, old man, then where are we? What's happened to us? Logan says, haven't a clue. But Mariko's dressed as a liege lord of the highest rank. I'm clad as her consort, and you as our champion, which suggests that this is all bound to Clan Yashida. And there I suspect looms our adversary. Snow babe, give me a break, says Kitty. So this is a female samurai. Take care with your words, Catherine, says Mariko as she reaches for an arrow. Do not make fun about that which you know little. And Logan concludes, snow or not, Pryde, it appears likely she's the one who brought us here. We've no idea why. But right here, right now, the way she's posed, it looks like it's for a fight. So he pops his claws. That's a really effective final panel there. So, intriguing. And of course, a question for readers would be, well, where is Amiko? Is this her transformed? Is there some connection between this and Amiko or something else entirely? But this is really a fascinating end to the issue and a real good hook for issue number 2, I think. A real surprise. Now, what about the art? I think the art is very competent, but the style, it's not my preference. My preferences are for Marvel style of the 1980s and 90s. I want more detail in my superhero art than this, less cartoonish. Art is my preference, but I see all the strengths here. This is a very competent artist, and the storytelling is really well done. There was no confusion, no misreading of the comic to this point, and there are some effective images as well. And I think he gets the body language of Wolverine correct, as well as his height too. And this is a nice double page spread to end the issue. And the colouring is great throughout. It doesn't overpower the black line art either. So that's effective, good stuff. And Claremont, I think, is doing a really nice story here. So it's interesting. I mean, like, who does this comic appeal to? Does it appeal to, I think, like, it is meant to appeal to readers of Chris Claremont's original 16-year run on the X-Men, but also by virtue of the choice of artist to appeal to present day younger readers who would not be familiar with that material necessarily. So Marvel kind of appealing to two readership groups potentially here: the older reader like me, who's here for Claremont, and newer readers who would find this particular art style attractive. And I think that Claremont is managing to write for both potential audiences and readerships effectively. That's my estimation and judgment in any case. So here's the cover for the next issue by Alan Davis again. We get a little bit more of a look at this antagonist, and we have Wolverine in his brown and tan costume there, and Kitty Pryde in her new costume for this particular series. Well, I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Wolverine and Kitty Pryde #1. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments section. I am going to pause on reviewing any of the subsequent issues until after the period of their publication and sale is over, because I want to, give people the opportunity to decide from this review commentary, are they interested in this series? And if so, to go out and buy it and support the creators by buying the product. And then down the road, I'll get around to reviewing the remainder of the issues after it's come out in trade paperback, I would say. So if you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.